10 strict rules men and women of the Bridgerton era had to follow. 1. No laughing or shouting. A woman wasn't supposed to raise her voice. Moreover, she wasn't supposed to overtly laugh or smile. Laughing out loud would have been scandalous. That doesn't mean that women couldn't express emotions. The way they did it during arguments was through the eyes. They mastered a withering look, called the cut. Essentially, if a person offended them, they'd cut them out. The cut was a continued stare at a person. 2. No sitting next to a man in a carriage. Carriage rides were a minefield of rules and regulations. The gentleman always sat with his back to the horses. Non-relatives would never sit next to each other. This was done to stop any indecent contact. A knee or an arm shouldn't touch. 3. Horse riding came with its own rules. A man's duty was to pick the right horse for a woman. He should never keep her waiting. Both riding in a carriage or on horseback was acceptable for a lady. A lady was also permitted to drive her own carriage, but she couldn't go riding alone. A lady would always bring an appropriate companion. This was done to protect her reputation. 4. Perfect posture was a must. Many young ladies were even fitted with a backboard. These were pieces of wood fixed in place by a leather strap. The backboard ensured they sat up straight. 5. Dinner parties were very complicated. Social gatherings came with their own specific rules. One false move and a lady could bring shame upon herself. Dressing for dinner was a must. A more casual dress was seen as a sign of disrespect to the host. Evening wear commonly comprised layered gowns. There would be an underdress of silk or satin. An overdress of sheer lace or gauze was worn on top. Hems were very elaborate, with artificial flowers, beadwork, lace, and netting. Ornamentation on the sleeves echoed that of the hems. 6. The seating plan was always the same. The hostess sat at the head of the table. The male guest of honor sat on her right. The rest of the guests would have to seat themselves. To do that, they ranked their social standing against their fellow guests. 7. No kissing for women. 1800s ladies never greeted each other with a kiss. That would have been considered disgusting. 2 women kissing each other on the cheek is a modern custom. 8. Umbrellas were the ultimate status symbol. The umbrella was considered a luxury item. It directly reflected a lady's status. The wealthier a family was, the more ornate the umbrella was. The poor didn't have umbrellas at all. The wealthy used them for sunshine as much as rain. 9. Mourning was mandatory. A woman in mourning would wear black. Widows were expected to wear black for 12 months. If a lady's parent or parent-in-law died, she'd wear black for 6 months. During this period, fashions were stripped back. No extravagant jewelry or shiny fabrics were allowed. Invitations to any social events had to be declined. 10. No first-name basis for prospective couples. In the early days of courtship, couples followed strict protocol. They were not allowed to talk in private. They wouldn't even use each other's given names. Instead, they'd call each other sir, madam, Mr., Mrs., etc. Unless the relationship progressed, names were never used.